At the moment, we've got Lucky NFT, which is going to be a sort of a full-service Web3 agency. It essentially owns a couple of assets, being NFT Melbourne and Lucky World, which is our upcoming play into Web3, where people will be able to sort of buy access passes, which will unlock experiences and opportunities for money can't buy events and utility. As a business, we wanted to show the respect for the space and also being very conscious. We really wanted to make sure that people didn't feel that it was just trying to come in, grab everything and take off. But we said, how do we show that we are serious and we can provide as much value as possible? Let's put on a mostly free event, make a show of it. Let's celebrate how seriously Melbourne and Australia are taking the space. We pulled it off, and I think that set us up really nicely from a credibility perspective.
Hello everybody, with me here today, Theo, the co-founder of Lucky NFT, who is also working on releasing Lucky World, which is their NFT project. He's also running a Web2 agency, and yeah, welcome.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
How's everything been going?
Yeah, really good. Really good. We're navigating all of the changes in the space, and yeah, I'm glad that we've sort of had a sort of long, drawn-out process to sort of wait and see and learn and sort of respect the space before we really hit the go button.
It's been a crazy couple of months, hasn't it?
Yeah, man.
Man, it's been wild. Literally, that SPF stuff that's been going on is it just gets crazier by the minute. Like, I'm just really confused about is, did you see how he was like live on a panel just getting interviewed? Like, everything's
It's bizarre.
Everything's just normal, but interesting times. And what's your story? Like, how you're currently running a Web2 agency, and also now getting into Web3. How are you finding the transition? And what's your story?
Yeah, so I'm a co-founder in a business called Out in the Clouds, which is a digital and technology agency. We do websites and Salesforce implementations. We've had that for about 6 or 7 years. And that's going really well. We're at about 20 staff, and it's starting to sort of run itself in a way. I at the moment, and we're sort of, like I just mentioned, we're sort of looking at our play in Web3 through Lucky. I can get into how that came about if you want to, but essentially at the moment, we've got Lucky NFT, which is going to be a sort of a full-service Web3 agency. At the moment, it essentially owns a couple of assets, being NFT Melbourne and Lucky World, which is our upcoming play into Web3, where people will be able to sort of buy access passes, which will unlock experiences and opportunities for money can't buy events and utility through what Lucky Entertainment own. That's
wild. Like, even so you started with NFT Melbourne. That you had that event in Feb.
Yeah,
this year.
Feb 23rd.
It was probably the first big Melbourne event for NFTs. I remember I wasn't there. Michael went. I was away at the time, and it was wild. Like, what you guys pulled off. So you had an event at Billboards.
Yeah, we did Billboard. We had about 950 people there. People weren't expecting that at all. We somehow got every single one of those people in the venue in about an hour and 20 minutes, which is ridiculous. Man, it was a great way to kick off the year, I guess. And we really wanted to, as a business, we wanted to show the respect for the space and also, being very conscious. And that was driven by myself and Mark, who I'm going to say a Web3 native, in the sense that we'd already spent well over a year and a bit in the space. So we wanted to make sure that people didn't feel that Lucky Entertainment as a brand was just trying to come in, grab everything and take off. As we were seeing a lot of established Web2 brands come in and attempt that, or musicians were doing it, and it was just happening a lot. So we said, how do we show that we are serious and we can provide as much value as possible? Let's put on a mostly free event. Make a show of it. Let's celebrate how seriously Melbourne and Australia are taking the space. And I think we pulled it off, and I think that's set us up really nicely from a credibility perspective.
You had Masked Wolf perform.
We did.
Yeah. It was all happening. And What are your plans with that? Going forward. I know you've like been throwing a few things on Twitter. That the next one's coming, and you were telling me it sounds really cool. You're trying to think about it very differently.
Yeah.
Which I think's very interesting.
Yeah. So we're hopefully tomorrow we can lock something in with so we're going for a multi-venue play. Whether that happens or we end up with one bigger venue, I'm not sure. But we're not going to go crazy like we were initially planning. We're going to be a little bit more sensible, a lot more sensible. You'll see what we're planning because we're going to pull that off in 2024. But we're going to go a lot more sensible than we originally planned, just given everything that's going on. Forget about what's going on in Web3. In the macro economy, companies are laying off thousands of staff daily, it feels like, and it's just a lot of uncertainty still in the market. So disposable income starts to get tighter and tighter, and people make sure they've got a roof over their heads and food in their mouth before they worry about going to events and experiences, which has it like playing devil's advocate. People often actually spend on that stuff during tighter times because it gives them that escapism. That conversation for another day. But the next event that we're planning, we're hoping to scrape it in for Q1 next year, so most likely March. Like I said, by the time this is distributed, hopefully the information's out from a date and venue perspective. But we really want to give people the ability to learn how they naturally learn. And what I mean by that is we're still going to have speaking engagements where people can learn. We're also going to have the ability to go up to a particular booth and play a game, like a demo of a game, go up to a information stand and get set up with a wallet, or have your first transfer done, or go up to an art installation or a music booth, sort of have an experience from a creative perspective, and potentially even mint
if an artist
what you worked on.
If an artist was there, painting something, or and people were just interacting.
Or we had an actual painting workshop where 50 people could sit there and paint with them.
Yeah.
And then we could scan that.
It's crazy. I really like it.
So just giving people the option to do that, and then really interesting ways from a networking perspective, not just you can network anywhere, but it's more fun. You got shit to do at the same time, right? Yeah. So if we pull it off with the venue composition that we're looking at doing, I think it's going to be a really entertaining way to sort of pull something off like this. And we're also, similar to how we did it at the last event, we want the event to be the party, not it to be a serious thing and then there's parties.
Yeah.
We think that there's a way to sort of combine the two and sort of have a multi-day approach where there's a blended approach of fun, engagement, learning and networking all in one.
That's really interesting. I think if you can combine that mix and it just blends all together really well, and then you've got a really cool event that I think you guys could pull off. There are, obviously, I've gone around and seen some of those events and been there, and you do get that vibe where it's great, but like you can bring a really cool flavor to it. So that's interesting. Even with how did you get to Lucky NFT? Like, how did that even begin and become a conversation? Yeah, so
probably 2 years ago now. Every time I ask this question, I never get my dates right because this whole COVID thing's just thrown me off. And I say the same thing every bloody time. You'd think I'd know by now. I'm going to say 2 years ago.
Somewhere there.
Where are we? No, that's not fair. Let's call it semantics. 18 months ago, 19 months ago, I mentioned to a good buddy of mine who is the founder of Lucky Entertainment, Luke, that he needs to take this seriously. And we were going to set something up. We were still in the middle of COVID. There was lots happening. It didn't eventuate. 6 months after that, so probably 14 months ago, I went back to him and I said, look, you've clearly seen what's been going on since the last time we caught up. You need to do something with this. And he pretty much said, I want to, but can you run it? How are we going to do it? So obviously with my commitments, with everything that I've got, I said, look, let's start to ideate and see how we can sort of work something out and start to put pieces in place so that I don't have to be there the whole time and I can still do what I'm doing and we can get something going. So Mark and I, who's my other business partner, were having sort of wine and NFT nights on Friday nights via Zoom because we were still locked down at that time. And we were trying to work out like how we can enter the space. We've both got Web2 agencies. And he was like, man, I really think we should offer like an agency service and just tip it into Web3. We know enough about it. We've got the right skill sets that can move across. And long story short, I essentially said, look, if we do something, whether it's an agency or project or whatever, I want to do it with someone that already has infrastructure in place so that we can scale easily. And also, again, I don't have to be there all the time because I've already got all these other commitments and we can sort of get going. So it so happened that, you know, the stars aligned, and then we decided, I think we incorporated about a year ago, and we decided to go with the plan of let's form Lucky NFT to sort of show everyone that we're here and almost reverse engineer it. And what I mean by that was do the event, like I said, show that we're serious, show the credibility that we're here to contribute, not to siphon out of the industry. From there, get as close to as many projects as possible to learn the ins and outs and like really have a keen understanding of how everything works. We've done that. Put together our own offering within the space, which is Lucky World, which you spoke about. We're going to bring that out next year in line with this event. And now we're ready to just about release our second event, which will end up actually being, I call it the anchor point for Lucky World. So the event that we do annually, which is currently called NFT Melbourne, it may change, but it's currently called NFT Melbourne. That will be the VCon of our Lucky World.
Wow, that's actually really cool.
So it's good if I can draw it. So I hope I didn't lose everyone there because it's like I feel like Rain Man talking about it. But we've got a bit going on.
Okay, wow. And then so let's talk about how does Lucky look to enter in regards with their artists? Like what's the plan with that? And as an agency, are you just targeting like the music industry, or are you kind of targeting
For sure
anybody?
For sure. So starting off, I thought that we could go like to given music and events, but then I was looking at sort of consumer goods as well. And then like just naturally, I'm like, we can do it for everyone. But then as it evolved, I was like, well, you know what? No, we need to focus on the music and event space, at least to start with, and just really service that, particularly in Australia. But yeah, we're gonna sort of look at that, and then more naturally, to your point, what the actual play for Lucky World is to create a type of launchpad that allows all of the artists in the Lucky Entertainment roster to dip their toe into Web3 by offering up utility that can be accessed through a Lucky World pass. So they get comfortable with how that exchange happens, which, by the way, they're already doing all of this within their tour contracts. There's meet and greets. They're already doing, interaction with fans through studio sessions or whatever it might be. They're already doing these dinners. They're already signing merch and all that sort of stuff. Now they're just going to get paid for it. So give them the taste to do that, all the while building up this Lucky World brand and attention. And then when each of them are ready to plug in, they're automatically not only going to have their own audience, but they're going to have this native Web3 tried and tested audience in Lucky World, which will be able to give allow list and sort of cross promotion opportunities to them too.
That's crazy. Why do you feel like this is the way to go? Like, why should we be? Why a lot of brands going to transition into something like this?
It's nothing else has made this much sense to me ever in business. The ability for any brand, whether it be an individual, like an artist, or a company, to get this close to their consumers, their fans, their super fans, their most loyal customers. There's never been anything that's allowed this to happen like this before. So that's the most exciting part about it for me, for sure.
Like, do you see, how do you see this compared to the record labels? Like, does this get rid of them?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's always and. I think that the record labels are going to have to change their model for sure. But when you start talking about, artist X that like, there's also layers to this, right? So if we're talking about artists that are attractive to a major or that even want to go that way as opposed to indies, then as long as they've already got some sort of base from a attention standpoint and fans, they can now raise the money that those majors would have given them as an advance and keep all of their royalties.
So give some context just to people that probably don't understand. So
Sure.
Generally the traditional agency model is you'll sign with a record label. You're an artist, you sign with a record label, you'll get what, 20%, they'll take 80%, they'll fund you. And if, for example, if they do get you a deal, let's just say it's a $1 million deal, they'll obviously take the 80%.
So they take their $1 million back first.
Okay,
And
yes,
then,
correct, yes.
And then however the deal is split.
Then they start.
But you got to remember, like that, the label might not be taking 80. They may, but they may not be taking 80. But once you talk about all the other hands that it has to feed, it's probably anywhere between 80 to 90.
Okay.
Before the artist gets anything right. So
okay, and then
but to your point, the advance that gets paid back first.
So then, if they do an NFT, let's just say the artist has 1 million followers,
they raise $1 million off the NFT drop,
and then the money goes all to the artist.
Directly to the artist. They, depending on the deal, they'd probably have to pay their manager a percentage.
Yeah.
Depending on the deal they've got with their manager.
Depends if there's an agency that's done.
Yeah, if there's a manager that they've got a 360 deal with, which most artists do, they might be giving 20% to them. But other than that, they're sharing the rest of it. Well, it depends on what's in the smart contract, but there might be something in that smart contract that gives their fans some sort of royalty share or whatever it might be. But the point is that they've now given their super fans and their early supporters the ability to initially invest in the potential of their success, but mostly have a piece of whatever they're offering, whether it be access to them, a piece of their music, whatever it might be that they've listed.
So it's pretty much the opportunity that if somebody was a fan, let's just say of Tiesto 20 years ago, Tiesto released an NFT, you as the fan, you would have bought a piece of the song, a royalty of the song, so you probably 0.01% of the song. Mm-hmm. Then Tiesto goes and becomes who he becomes, and because you held the NFT and that song went and did millions of streams, then you got paid.
Yeah, I mean that's one way if that's what was being offered, but it could have even literally just been Tiesto's initial NFT offering, which acts now as his rookie card.
Yes, okay.
It's a piece of history, right? Like you literally own Tiesto's rookie card.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You're gonna definitely see this play out now, even as a traditional standpoint. So traditionally, obviously, they take 80%, but isn't it as the record label, being signed with one helps you make it in a sense because they've got connects in the music world and all that jazz? Or
could do. Yeah, could do. It depends. I think it's different for everyone. Like I know for sure, like with the conversations I've been having with different majors, especially because we were super early, in terms of those who are active in the space, like majors were just putting people into Web3 roles when we were sort of starting to speak to them, which was surprising, to be honest, how quickly they moved on it.
Yeah, okay.
But to that point, like I said before, if the artist is at a point where they've already built up this network and maybe they have a good business manager already, they might not need that label. Like the label traditionally and historically has provided a platform for essentially a selling machine. So if that's already taken care of through their social channels, then what's the label doing?
Do you feel like social channels are there artists that are breaking through just through their socials and doing it without a label? Is
That's exactly what's happening.
So
So you think about like Chance the Rapper, completely independent. The guy, like you wouldn't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even like you don't have to take an example of someone that's that successful, but there are, I'm going to say, millions of artists that are independent out there that are making a living thanks to social media.
That's crazy.
They can go direct to consumer.
And you see Snoop Dogg, he bought Death Row Records and he's turning it into an NFT label in a sense. Like,
Yeah.
Has he released any information on that, or what exactly he's going to do? Or is it still pretty under wraps?
Yeah, I don't think it's gone into detail.
Because he took all these songs off Spotify.
Bought all the masters, yeah. He bought everything.
Do you think, I look at it, I don't know, do you see maybe what Snoop Dogg is going to bring out? Do you think that is going to be maybe a turning point within the industry where music NFTs start, rising? Do you think that's its...
I don't think it's one event. It may be. But even if you think about a lot of people say that Beeple $69 million sale is what triggered the last thing. It might be. It might have been enough to get enough people's attention to get it going. Who am I to say whether it did or not? But I feel like there was a collection of events during that period that really set that snowball into motion, right? So I feel like it's going to be that again. I don't see, I don't know who's the biggest at the moment, Taylor Swift or I'm so out of the loop with pop. Yeah. Let's just say back in the day, Michael Jackson did it, right? I don't think just that happening is going to be enough. It needs to be, enough people. Like, I know artists, I'm not going to name them, but I know artists that are huge in Australia, massive, that have told me that they have projects done, locked away, and they didn't release it because of the bear market and they're waiting for it to get better.
Yeah.
That, to me, I feel like they haven't understood, or maybe they haven't packaged something properly that is going to be done in a way that has longevity. And by the way, before I say anything else, digital art is always going to have a place. So it doesn't, artists don't have to put something out like what we're doing that's got long-term utility and will be there forever. They could just put out a digital version of their art or their music, or a visually appealing video to go with their album launch or whatever it might be. So I don't want to be that guy that says, hey, it has to be this way.
Yeah, it's a good point.
The creative license remains with the artist. Just because we're moving to a new technology, it doesn't mean that the art changes. The platform is enabling the creator to have more power and more control. It shouldn't be then dictating how they're putting something out. As long as they're communicating with their audience, this is what you're getting and this is what I'm doing, let art be art. And if people want to buy it in a digital form, it's going to go back to that example that I gave before around, Tiesto's rookie card. If these guys are putting this out, it's their first ever digital offering, that's good enough. As long as people don't think they're going to get $1 million in the mail in cash just because they buy the NFT, right?
There's talking about rookie cards. There's actually Gary V teamed up with Budweiser and they released singers as rookie cards.
Yeah, wow.
Now, one of those singers have died. I think, is it Lil Baby? Is Lil Baby?
I don't think it was Lil Baby, but yeah, okay.
There was someone that died.
It was someone,
it was some big rapper that's died, and I'm thinking about it
Baby, okay.
Yeah, with that obviously in a sense, because I think after,
did they put it out?
They put it out, then he died after. So would that, in a sense, if digital collectibles do become a thing where holding these rookie cards in a sense, if he goes and has
if that's how that was released. So you're saying specifically they did it intentionally, a digital card?
Yeah, they're like digital cards.
Because obviously he's big into cards.
Yeah, so
they were done that way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll just
There'll never be any other one of...
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. It's a very interesting concept. It's imagine there was Elvis Presley digital cards.
The one that drops for me that Gary Vee's actually used a lot and I use a lot is imagine having the NFT of the Woodstock ticket. That's priceless. It would be worth so much money. I haven't seen what ticket stubs from Woodstock go for now, but having that be in a digital form, firstly, it's not going to rot You don't have to preserve it, and you know for sure it's real. So it's incredible.
It's crazy, like the power of like just the blockchain of being able to collect things digitally and see how many are out there. Like even if you think about it, they talk about Pokemon cards, saying I don't know, there's this many Charizards or something, but really, is there?
Yeah.
Like, is there like?
Well, what you're doing then is you're trusting the grading services like PSA that are giving you these numbers, but to your point, is that the right number?
Yeah.
Like, are you sure? You don't really know.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect use case for blockchain.
Yeah, that's crazy. And so, okay, let's just use, let's use one of the artists in, an artist, or just anyone in general. Like, what if I was a fan of that celebrity or that singer, how me purchasing an NFT from them, how does that, how does that benefit me? Because I'm a fan of
specifically them. Depends on what they're offering. So again, if it goes to how we're looking at it with Lucky World, you could go into a raffle to claim a dinner experience with them. One of 5 people might go to dinner with them and their team, for example.
Okay.
You might have a type of pass that gives you the ability to log into a fly on the wall session where you're watching them in the studio for X amount of time. Or you might even be able to have a studio lesson with them or a songwriting lesson with them. And then you've got the other version which you mentioned, which is they might put out a song and they might use Royals as an example, which is Blau's platform, where they release a song and then however their royalties are distributed, they then give the holders of that NFT a percentage of that revenue.
Okay, that's crazy.
It all literally, like, that's why smart contracts are so great. You can literally decide as a creator what is it that you're giving in return for the people who actually purchase and hold this particular NFT.
What do you think of Royal's NFT platform? So it probably opened up about 2 weeks ago. I would say it's the first NFT music platform of its kind. What are your thoughts on it, and how do you see even that playing out? So is that just literally going to be? Do you believe just all artists uploading their music there? But then what happens to Spotify, and how does this all play out? Do you think?
There's a lot of development to come for sure. I think that I think it's a great first step, and again, it goes back to options, right? I haven't played with it because I just haven't seen that I need to sort of be across the hands-on component to it just yet. I was very across the initial, press releases and obviously the concept I'm very familiar with and all the rest of it, and the business model. But in terms of the way that it works going down the road, I think that eventually there needs to be some sort of mechanism where, these streaming services pay into a particular bank account, or maybe the artist chooses that they get paid in a particular cryptocurrency, and then that's the wallet that Royals use to distribute. There's a massive disconnect at the moment between the different channels in which these artists are getting paid versus how logistically it works for them for Royals to then be able to distribute this revenue share. So I'm interested to see how they work that out, because a lot of different very big old world players have to agree to some sort of consensus here, which means they'd be giving up their stranglehold on the space. So if they can crack that, I'd be really interested to see how they do it. But them on their own right, if their strategy behind closed doors is to compete with your likes of your Spotify, etc., that's a big task.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, this is the way I think about it. Like, so even if you get an NFT of the artist, the royalties that you get are paid from Web2, like Spotify companies. So they're so minuscule in a sense. Then you've got to little minuscule share in it. Like you're still making, but do you feel like there's got to be there has to be something like there's Audius, but I think that's owned by Spotify as well.
Probably.
Yeah, I think they're owned by Spotify.
No, look, I think that the problem, I don't see the problem for me isn't the size of what's paid. The problem for me is the disconnect between no visibility of what actually was paid out and them saying, trust us, this is what we got from Spotify for this quarter, for this year, whatever. Yeah. And this is what we've put into this shared wallet that then gets distributed. There's no ledger that's proving this is what they got paid.
Yeah.
So that's where the disconnect is for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're gonna have to solve that for sure.
So then surely the only probably way around that is like a Trojan horse, Web3, Spotify or something. Yeah, like a platform of that size that comes through. But I'm struggling. I don't know. Maybe we're still early, trying to just figure out exactly like what that is or how does it bridge together.
Oh, there's so many moving parts. It's it's interesting. Like I said, either they get paid directly and we can see that the money's gone from a Spotify wallet, but then again, them moving to that model is going to open them up to competitors. Yeah. So how it plays out, it's going to be really interesting, I think. Yeah. But having other options is always a good thing.
So there are a few pieces to this that I have to keep moving, which will definitely get there. 100%. Okay. In regards to like ticketing, how does Lucky see? How do they see tickets turning into NFTs?
Mm-hmm. We're doing it. So for the next event, there'll be a portion of NFT tickets. So the way it'll work is there'll be a portion of tickets that'll be available directly on our what's called a mint page. Where you'll be able to choose the tier of ticket that you want. It'll come with a particular design of NFT, and that will act as your admission pass to the particular events that we have that are gated by those tickets across the NFT Melbourne week. I'm going to say it's not confirmed that it's a full week, but during the period that we're running the NFT Melbourne events, they'll have access to particular things in real life. And there's technology that it's already out there, such as token proof, which is what we'll use, where, just like when you go now and you go to, say, the MCG or wherever it is, a local event or whatever it might be, and they scan your QR code, it's literally they're scanning a QR code, the technology checks your wallet to make sure that you've got the right NFT in your wallet, and then it either has a tick or a cross. They might have changed that by now, but we either know that it's confirmed that you've got that or you don't, and then that way, you can't scan a barcode and then, go and use something else and sort of replicate that. And then, there's more legitimacy around the ticketing aspect.
Well, the ticket just keeps changing every 30 seconds or something, the barcode on the ticket. On the token proof ticket, like your ticket just keeps changing.
Which one? The person that brings it?
The person that's got it on their phone. So once you get a ticket, that you can never be replicated. Like even
that's right. Exactly right.
It's wild the way it works. Yeah. Why do you want to bring it in? Why do you see it's a way to?
Well, for our event, it's a Web3 event, so we should be using Web3 technology, right? Yeah. Firstly, secondly, because the fact that you have those items in people's wallets gives you we're practicing what we're preaching, right? So we're then able to offer them additional benefits in the future during the event, in collaboration with others. By having something in their wallet, we've now got a relationship with them. Okay. So it's not only wanting to practice what we preach and supporting the space, it's a selfish play as well, in a positive way, but to be able to then have this Web3 strategy playing out where we can do a number of different things with people that have that have these NFTs in their wallet.
Well, in a sense, like they become part of the Lucky family because they've been to an event. So you could give things to them, and then because you can actually see in their wallet, you can even tailor experiences to what they like. So, for example, I don't know, you look in my wallet, I was a Richmond supporter, I had all these Richmond tickets, then Lucky could maybe host an event with like a player or something, and invite, you know, the 50 Richmond fans or something. So it's very interesting. And even with the tickets, I don't know, you look at, I think it was Michael Jordan, his debut ticket or something.
I saw that, the ticket stub, yeah.
The song was crazy. I think it was like
It's a big sale.
Big sale. I think it was like 70 or 110,000 or something for his debut ticket. So it's worth a lot of money.
You look on eBay at ticket stubs, there are hundreds of thousands of things listed at any given time.
It's
a
wild.
massive collector base.
So then it becomes, in a sense, it kind of becomes like another royalty, like another stream of income as well.
It does, and you know,
like another business.
Imagine you get an up and coming artist that does the design for the tickets, and then they turn into Andy Warhol.
That's wild.
You know,
There's
a two-pronged impact there. Like, you know, we might end up turning into a global icon from a NFT project, but the artist might do something as well. And there's two reasons to sort of collect that.
Wow,
that NFT.
That's wild. Very, very different in comparison to Web 2. How long do you think, like how do you think it's going to take for the mainstream to really adopt this, like for it to go mainstream?
Ticketing? I think ticketing will be the first one.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that like we're already seeing Ticketmaster are hiring Web3 talent in their business. We're already seeing a bunch of traditional ticketing companies already offering NFT options. People get it. It's not. It's also, you know, by bringing it into a platform that people are already familiar with, there's less friction. Especially if they can optimize the experience so that people don't actually know that they're interacting with an NFT. So if they actually just go to an event that they want to buy, and they're still checking out in the same way, but they might have like an ETH or a Bitcoin payment option, and that's the only difference. Or maybe they don't even bother with that and they just keep it fiat. And in the back end, that ticket is actually printing on the blockchain. And then they're given, you know, the process is still very similar, and they might have a button somewhere as an option to say, you know, instead of like add to calendar or add to your Apple wallet, it might be add to your Ticketmaster wallet, and it's actually a Web3 wallet.
Okay.
As opposed to your Apple wallet that's currently on your phone.
Okay, that's crazy.
So by doing it similar, and I always use this, and I say this probably too often, but the whole Henry Ford piece around when cars were first coming out, people were scared of it, and they actually used to abuse you if you had a car because they'll like buy a horse. But he was like, we're just going to make you faster horses. So by giving the similarity there and showing people we're not trying to get rid of your horses, and we're not trying to get rid of your tickets, we're just trying to make it better for you, and, you know, make something that you already love doing just more enhanced and better for everyone.
That's crazy. It just seems like there's so much more value to, like, imagine holding a ticket to some event and then like you're still getting invited, like, I don't know, you're getting exclusive discounts to some partners that they're with.
Exactly.
And that you're still always benefiting in some way, shape or form.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're planning actually. So we've got a couple of different tiers to our tickets. So the top two, there's like an ultimate experience and then a rare experience. So the top one, actually both of them will have gift bags. So there'll be digital gift bags. So they'll essentially get sent, like you were saying before, a couple of different digital items, whether it be POAPs or NFTs, depending on what we end up landing with. And then by holding that, there'll be a particular piece throughout the few days that we're running where people can actually take their that ticket that they hold to redeem a physical gift bag as well.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, where the sponsors will contribute to whatever's in there.
That's pretty cool. Do you have any plans, like any artists first up to launch them out or anything like that?
We're talking to a couple. A couple have been active in the space, bought NFTs before. They understand the benefits. They're down. We have already listed in some of our tweets which artists are on board for Lucky World.
Nice.
Long story short, all 100 and I think it's 107 Lucky Entertainment artists will be involved in one way or another with the project. But in terms of doing their own, we're going to start to talk to whoever wants to sort of jump straight in. We'll facilitate that, but we want to certainly set this out to sale in a few months' time, and then from there we'll sort of schedule in whoever wants to go at it first.
Nice. Do you, like, what do you feel, like, what are the barriers of people entering Web3 at the moment?
Probably lack of education, or lack of willingness to learn as well. I think that there's, like, look, rightly so, if you just read headlines, you'd be pretty skeptical, and I can understand that. But at the end of the day, if you don't get yourself educated on something, what are you relying on to make decisions? Like, are you just reading headlines or listening to, or even overhearing conversations somewhere? It's not going to hurt you if you just take some time to understand it, especially if you're in what I call the sort of low-hanging fruit industries at the moment that are sort of, I think just about every industry should be seriously considering it, especially B2C. But in terms of, music, events, consumer packaged goods, really those, and I throw art into there as well. Music and art for me sort of one in the same. If you're not considering it, then you're seriously missing out on an opportunity. No matter if the market's hot or not, there's always an opportunity. There's never a bad time to start a good business.
I feel like every business is getting affected. Like, even Starbucks releasing their rewards program, and they're the first company to kind of put Web 2 and 3 together. So everyone that's got a Web 2 login to their reward system is automatically going to be set up a wallet and be literally bridged into Web 3. We saw Reddit do it.
Yep.
So it's very interesting. Like, even just everyday rewards going on the Web 3, I feel like that's going to probably be a blueprint to, all these cafes and restaurants
100%.
and sports clubs and everything. And we'll get there. Like, is there, do you think it's going to be the next bull run that we go mainstream, or do you think it's going to be the bull run after? Like, everyone was jumping the gun this time around, saying that we're going mainstream, and I think there was a lot of hopium going around.
I think the true adoption will be similar to what I just described, which was when the majority of people don't know that they're actually engaging with the consumer blockchain, is when the majority of people will engage with the consumer blockchain. I think that there's always going to be a percentage of skepticism or whatever it is that people are feeling. I think that's always gonna be a hurdle, especially until the friction's gone from a UX perspective. But I think that we will incrementally get there for people that continue to get it, and then eventually it's going to be just another app.
Where would you recommend people to go if they wanted to learn more about Web3?
Yeah.
Is there anyone in particular you listen to, or just anyone in general?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's subjective, right? So for me, I mean, pretty much Gary V is what triggered me, right? Like 2 years on the dot, essentially. Maybe a little bit, probably exactly 2 years ago. I think it was probably November, so a little bit over 2 years ago. I started seeing him write the acronym, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And then as I dug into, what essentially what he was talking about, and then I trade basketball cards like a maniac. So seeing Top Shot around that time, and then him talking about CryptoPunks, and then that's when the penny dropped, because I then understood what it meant for culture or consumerism in general, like music, sport, business and technology is like my life, right? Those four, and this consolidates all of them into one. So for me, it was the content that Gary was creating, especially when he was launching VFriends. They did a great job of onboarding thousands of new people into Web3. But then naturally, because of what I follow on social, 1:37 p.m. is a publication that he owns. They did a lot of great content. But I think, long story short, almost everyone I know has people that they trust from a, I guess is a celebrity or just an information standpoint, people of note, right? If they happen to have exposure to Web3 or are connected to people within that space, just go down the rabbit hole on Twitter, on LinkedIn, searching sources that you trust. Unless those sources are things like Herald Sun and mainstream media. But if there are people that are in there, or you find your way through your circle group, or whatever it might be. Otherwise, if all else fails, go through the old reliable Gary V route, and you won't be disappointed.
Yeah, I think he's put up that much content. Like if you even just go like NFT for beginners, like he's got so many of them, and he always brings a good spin into it, he's definitely been pioneering. So he's good to watch. What do you think of like NFTs for sports clubs, and how does that play out?
I think anywhere that there's a membership involved, it's exactly what we're doing. Like Lucky World is a membership, so I see it play out exactly the same way. Obviously, there's different mechanics there, because again, it goes back to the common theme in the conversation, right? It all depends on it's always a value exchange, right? What is the entity or individual offering within what they're selling? And what is the person that's buying it expecting to get for what they're buying? The rest is completely, the platform will facilitate it. So as long as that's clear, and the sporting club can offer things like, rewarding people that use the facilities a certain amount of time, or great example of, they might do a collaboration with Richmond where there's a meet the players day or whatever it might be. Sporting clubs and any club or membership will be able to reward and engage with their membership a lot closer than you can currently with any sort of rewards, incentives or programs that exist as they are.
It's crazy. Do you think that with the record label, let's just say in a couple years' time, how do they adjust in all this? Like, what's their?
I think they already are. Like the majors already are. So they're building their own arms for Web3.
Yeah.
And that'll mean essentially like they offer a turnkey service to the artists that they sign, and they need to continue to justify why they're taking so much money off the table.
Do you think it'll just kind of be something where they'll put two paths on offer and say this is path one, and this is what it looks like. This is the services that you get.
I think it's more integrated than that. I think we can help you with Web3.
Okay.
As an option, they can go to their artists and say, we have the resources to assist you with your Web3 strategy. So when your contract's up, just remember you can stay with us and we'll do it all for you.
Okay, so then what's the dynamic? So it'd probably with the agency, there'd be like a marketing. So the agency would then obviously have to have a marketing agency arm to them. Do a lot of these?
Every record label is essentially every major is essentially a marketing machine.
Yeah,
that's what they are.
So then they've already got everything ready to literally.
In the traditional world, yeah, they've got all their channels set up, and that's why they're building out these Web3 teams to work out, how do they innovate, how do they offer these new services, because they have to stay sharp, otherwise they're gonna lose their artists.
Yeah, it's wild, and I think it's going to be interesting. I think Instagram starting to do it, and Twitter will obviously introduce it as well. I assume that you'll be able to buy NFTs just literally off Twitter's page. That's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, like I said, once the friction's removed and people don't know, like no one needs to know how PayWave works. They just know that they can do it.
Yeah.
Apple Pay with your watch or whatever. They don't need to know the technology. Like these people don't need to understand how Web3 works to want to be able to own a really nice photo by a photographer that they follow, or a really nice design by Danielle Weber because they love her art and she's just posted, you know, this new art piece on Instagram and has it available for, it's just another in-app purchase. That's really all it is.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Theo, we wrap this up by, you have to answer a question left by a previous guest, and you have to leave a question for the next guest.
Okay.
So the question that has been left for you is, what's your definition of success?
Happiness.
Amazing. And just to give a bit of context, like with your happiness, is it in a sense just, are you I don't know, do you find, is this why that you're going into Web3 trying to chase just a passion, or does it bring you?
Yeah, so I mentioned before I've got a long history of music, and I had always been in the music industry because it made me happy. It was a great byproduct of that I was making a living from it. But then it became more about making the living and less about the love for it. So I said, let me go into the business world and make money and then come back to the music space for the love of it.
Okay, that's
so
amazing.
Web3 has almost accelerated that because it's I guess it's not a shortcut, but it's allowing me to do both, but still be close to what I love. So being able to wake up every day knowing you're going to do something that you love, and then knowing that you can take care of the people you love doing it, that's happiness for me.
That's insane. I love it. I love it, man. And what do you have for the next guest?
I want to know why they're wearing what they're wearing when you speak to them.
That's a good one. I like that. Why?
It's all about expression, right? Like the NFTs are all about the ability to express yourself through ownership. So why... Yeah, hopefully they're wearing NFT merch when they come in.
That's a good one. I like that a lot. Well, Theo, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Appreciate it.
Provide a lot of value, and really keen to see what you guys are going to be doing. I'm in. I'll be part of the journey. And where can everyone find you and Lucky NFT? Yeah,
so my handle on almost every platform is Theo K Unfiltered. And then, it's a little bit trickier for Lucky NFT, but if you search Lucky NFT on the platforms, the handles or the profile should show up.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks, man.